Welcome to our video lesson on solving word problems with equations. The first thing I need you to do is fill in your steps. Whenever we get a word problem, the first thing we're always going to do, like any word problem, is you're going to cube it. After you've cubed it, then you're going to write a let statement. You'll see what I mean by that when we do the examples, but it will always start with let and then a variable, and then you'll put the word rep, which stands for represent. You don't have to write the whole word, just write rep. Then you're going to choose an operation. By that I mean addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. What operation will be in your equation? Then you're going to write an equation. Your equation is going to be of the form where you have a variable on one side of the equal sign. So for example, x plus 3 is equal to 12. Or 18 minus k equals 24. But you are not going to have the variable be the only thing on the side of the equal sign, because then it's already solved. Then you're going to solve your equation, so get the variable alone. And the last thing is beside your answer. So if we have k is equal to 12, you need to write your units. So you need to tell me what 12 is. So maybe it's 12 minutes. You need to add your units. And those are our steps. All right, let's use those steps to solve some problems. All right, the first thing we're going to do is read our problem and cube it. So let's read the problem together. Last week, Daniel ran 6 miles more than Jasmine. Daniel ran 24 miles. How many miles did Jasmine run? Okay, we need to cube it. So we circle the numbers and their units. So we have 6 miles. We circle both of those. 24 miles. And that's it. And we underline the important math words. This is really important for this lesson. More than is really important that you underline that. How many miles? We can underline how many. And that's all we need to do. CUB, box the question. This is important too. Our question is this: how many miles did Jasmine run? Then you need to eliminate unimportant information. In this question, there's actually no unimportant information, so we're just going to leave it. So we've done step 1. We've cubed it. Now we need to write our let statement. Our let statement tells us what the variable represents. It's always going to be based off your question. So our question is, how many miles did Jasmine run? Our let statement will be let m represent, or just rep, how many miles Jasmine ran. Your let statement will always answer this final question. Your variable will represent whatever the question is asking you for. Okay, number 3, we need to choose what operation our equation is going to be. So let's read the question again and see if we can find a key math word that will help us figure out what operation to put in our equation. If you're struggling to figure out what words to look for, that foldable we made in our last unit with all the words when we were going from words to equations might help you. In this one, the key word we're looking at is more than, the math terms that we underlined when you did your cube. That more than means we're going to do addition. So our equation, we know, is going to have addition in it and an equal sign. And it will also have the variable m. Now we need to make our equation. So last week Daniel ran 6 miles more than Jasmine. Daniel ran 24 miles. How many miles did Jasmine run? Well, we know that m, our variable, represents the number of miles that Jasmine ran. And Daniel ran 6 more miles than Jasmine. So we know that m, the miles that Jasmine ran, plus 6 has to be equal to 24. This is an example of our equation. We have our variable on one side with a number, and then another number on the other side. Now we've made our equation. Our next step is to solve. We know how to solve this equation. That's what we've been doing for the past week. So we need to get the variable alone. To get the variable alone, we're going to subtract 6 from this side and subtract 6 from the other side. So these cancel out, so we just have m. And now we know that m is equal to 18. The last step is to add the units. M is what? 18 what? 18 minutes, 18 potatoes. It's actually 18 miles. So I'm just going to write miles. And now we're finished the question. I know this can be a little bit hard, so we're going to do another one. Our first step is to cube it. Kayla ran 24 miles less than Carlos last week. Kayla ran 17 miles. How many miles did Carlos run? The first thing we're going to do is circle our numbers and units. So we have 24 miles and 17 miles. I could also circle miles here because it's the units. Then we're going to underline important math words. So Kayla ran 24 miles. Less than is an important math word. That's going to help us with the operation. That's it. Box the question. Our question is, how many miles did Carlos run? So we're going to box this question. And then E, eliminate unimportant information, and there isn't any in this question, so we're not going to worry about it. Next step, write a let statement. Okay, let's look at our question. How many miles did Carlos run? In this situation, it's asking about miles. So I'm going to write a let statement saying let M rep the number of miles Carlos ran. Okay, now we need to figure out our operation. We look through our question for those important math words to figure out what operation it should be. Let's go back through. We underlined less than. Less than means subtraction. You can check your foldable if you're not sure. So that means the operation we're going to do is subtraction. Right? We also know we're going to have an equal sign, and we're going to have this letter M, or a variable M, in there. We need to figure out how to write our equation. Alright, let's look back at our question. Kayla ran 24 miles less than Carlos last week. And we have M representing the number of miles Carlos ran. So if Kayla ran 24 miles less than Carlos, we can take the number of miles that Carlos ran, which is C, and subtract the 24. Because Kayla ran 24 miles less than Carlos. And that has to be equal to the 17 miles that Kayla ran. This is our equation. C minus 24 equals 17. Now we need to solve it. We know how to do that. We are going to add 24 to each side. These cancel out. And now we have C is equal to 41. So we know that Carlos, and our units has to be miles. So we know that Carlos ran 41 miles.